Addy soldiers. I'm wearing an eyeshadow called Dragon Queen and I am feeling my makeup today. And it is because, perhaps, of my Dragon Queen persona that I felt like a warrior woman today. Do you know what I want to do when I feel like a warrior woman? Talk about books with warrior women in them. So basically you can either blame or give credit to this entire video from Children in Blood of Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. Today's video is going to be centered around this book because it was so damn good and I'm not even being paid to say that, and I want to talk about my books that I read in February and March because there was an awful lot of them and I had some hits and misses, but I think the best one I've read all year is this book right here, so let's launch right into it. Was this book overhyped for me? Hell yes it was. But was it still good? Yes, I still very much so enjoyed this. And if you are living under a rock and or don't have Twitter, Children of Blood and Bone is centered around African mythology and folklore in a land with magic users and the prejudices that come against them. The world building was great. I loved the moral dilemma debate through whether everyone should have magic or not, and the twist at the end was real intense. I had a couple of Snapchat freakouts. I absolutely love the main character. I think she's very strong, but she's also very flawed, and I really enjoyed reading from her perspective. You know, let's just keep going with books that I really enjoyed. I absolutely loved The Bells by Dionelle Clayton, and this is like a fantasy novel set in New Orleans, but also if specific people called the Bells have the power of magic plastic surgery. But it was a really interesting concept. It's just a beautiful book in general, aesthetically, but also the writing is very nice. There's a lot of talk about beauty and what it means to people and the power that comes behind having beauty. It was a very interesting society that she set up. I definitely am gonna read the second one, and it's also I liked it enough to make a bookstagram of it, so check out my Instagram account, that's linked below. And then we have a middle grade that was written by my friend, and that is The Strange and Deadly Portraits of Briony Gray by E. Latimer. That's right, everybody, I know this person, I am now cool by association. This is a weird, fast-paced, creepy-ass book that is based on The Picture of Dorian Gray, which I love my Victorian literature, and it was a really neat concept about his daughter that paints portraits that come to life as monsters, and I loved it. I'm not a big middle grade person, but I loved this book. And then one that people have just been yelling at me to read for ages and ages is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, who I both love. Poking fun at religion, so if you are religious, you might not like this. Basically, the Antichrist has now been born on Earth, and like the demons and the angels that are both coming after him. And then there's like the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but it has that dry British humor. So it's really, really cleverly written. It's really funny. I found myself laughing out loud a couple of times. It was real strange, but it was real funny, and they made it work, and I love their quirky cast of characters in here, including the weird angel and Crowley, the demon, who was there at the beginning of time, what have you. He's great. I love him the most. Another book that I gave quite a high rating to was Borderline by Michelle Baker. This is a regular adult fantasy about a girl who's lost both of her legs in attempted suicide and also has borderline personality disorder, and she gets roped in to the Arcadia Project, which basically like tracks down fairies that live in our world, but it also takes place in Los Angeles, so it was a really neat setting. All these like weird people in the Acadia Project that all have mental illnesses, which were all done very, very well, but sometimes they're not written right, and this was written right. Plus we have dark fairies, plus we have illusions and magic, and then she's also really like kind of an awful person, but I really liked her. She was a very likable, unlikable main character. Great writing, do recommend. Okay, what the heck are my bangs doing? Alright, they're gonna stay like that while we talk about Rachel Kane's Thinkin Bone, because this was a fantastic book. I thought it was really, really cool, and this is about if the Great Library of Alexandria had not burned down, and now it kind of controls the world and who gets information and what information they get, and it's a slightly war-ridden world in the future as well. The main character, Jess, who is a dude, is very morally gray. I really liked him, and I really liked the library. It was so cool. So if you want like kick-ass librarians, this is the book for you. Then we have our Word Nerd Book Club of the Month, which was Winter Song. I got the sequel, which was Shadow Song by S.J. Jones. Winter Song is a German-based folklore book that is about the Goblin King taking a young girl underground under the mountain, and Shadow Song was a bomb-ass sequel. They are more introspective books to the main character. It's not a big action-packed book, so there's a lot more of stuff going inside her own head. But I really liked that because it was a little bit of a psychological thriller type book, but we also get dark fairies and goblins and the wild hunt, and it was a great sequel. I wish there was more in this world. Thankfully, all the books I just mentioned were great books. I really, really enjoyed them. Now let's go on to a couple that I found were just like, okay. Unfortunately, I have to give Dear Martin by Nick Stone just a mediocre rating. A black teen noticing that there's a lot of injustice when it comes to the police system and the law with fellow black teens, and then he also gets caught in the middle of a crossfire with a white police officer and his other black friend. So it does have a bit of that same hate you give vibe with that going on, and unfortunately a real world vibe with that going on. But the writing was just a little iffy for me, so I didn't dislike it, but I'm probably not going to read it again. I also found The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross to be slightly mediocre. This was an interesting concept about how people go to these academies to kind of be the best at whatever talent they can be it like drawing or singing or knowledge, and the girl that is in this book decides that knowledge is going to be her calling in life. I think if you are a bit of a new YA reader, you would enjoy this, but I just felt the love interest was a little bit off, and there was nothing spectacular about the main character that made me really fall in love with her. One that I'm like pretty disappointed at because this cover is just, oh my god, it's so beautiful. And that is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I like this book the most out of the three that I just mentioned. I give this like a 3.5 stars because this is like small town curses with witchcraft, which I love so much. And oh my god, it's holographic, it's so beautiful. But overall, I found I did not like the love interest, and the love storyline just fell flat for me. So I'm in between. I'm like, do I take it back to the store? Do I let it live with myself on my shelf for a little while? Because it's just so beautiful. I did like it. I love small town curses, like I love that kind of thing. So I'm undecided about this one. And there's more books that I don't actually have physical copies of because I gave them back, honestly. The first one I want to talk about that I did read this month that I don't have a physical copy of is Let's Talk About Love by Claire Can. I was so excited about this book because it was with an ace main character, and you don't hear about that ever, so I had very high expectations, and this book fell very flat. I did not like the writing, I did not like the love interest, there were so many things that were just left untied, and there was a lot of storylines that she just never came back to, and I didn't like it, unfortunately, and I'm very sad about that, but I didn't, so I took it back to the store. A book that I really did love, though, was One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus, which was a psychological thriller that I super, super loved, and I think it's pitched as like Breakfast Club noir, so it's all these kids that are accused of murdering one of their classmates, and what actually happened? Who was in the room? What are all these people hiding? And it was a great book. I did not see the twist ending coming. I was slightly disappointed at the twist though, because I thought it was going to be something a little bit more intense, and it ended up being I felt slightly like a cop-out, and there's a whole, if I can find it, the Word Nerds did a book club on it, so I will link that down below. Last book that I do not have is The Lost Girls of Camp Forevermore by Kim Fu, which was about all these girls going to a summer camp when they were quite young, and then an event happening, and they don't tell you what the event is, and they kind of circle around it, and then it goes back to them later in life as they're thinking back onto this event, and I thought it was going to be a bit more exciting than it was. So I think the writing was really good, don't get me wrong, but just the story of it, I was kind of underwhelmed, and there didn't seem to be like a connection to all the girls besides this one small event. I thought that there was going to be more connections to them later on. Okay, last but not least are the 4 books that I did not read this month. The first of which my very sweet boyfriend got for me for Valentine's Day, and this shows how well he knows me. And that is Lamb by Christopher Moore, but it's in like a Bible type of bind-up. This is a regular fiction novel by Christopher Moore that has a different cover than this, and it's about Christ, but it's not about him, it's about Biff, his childhood best friend. So it's like the best friend of Christ growing up, and I think that would be hilarious to read, and I myself am not super religious, so I don't mind this kind of like fun that they're poking at it, and it's a real nice bind-up. If you got this for Valentine's Day, like, I lost my mind. And then I got this gorgeous book and that is The Astonishing Color of After by Emily Pan, which as far as I know, it's like the main character is half Taiwanese and half Irish, and her mother commits suicide, and after that event she gets in touch with her Taiwanese grandparents and like goes to China and like learns all this stuff about her mother's family that she didn't know before. And I've just been seeing this all over Twitter, and Emily Pan is super, super sweet, and it's just, oh, it's lovely. And I've already read, like, I don't know if you can see it, I've read like 6 chapters so far. The writing is astonishing. Lastly, before my camera dies, I'm at like real low. Let's get through this quickly. I have 2 poetry books, the first of which being The Witch Doesn't Burn in This One by Amanda Lovelace. I loved The Princess Saves Herself in this one. Definitely feminist poetry, and I love the way that she writes it, very free form, but it also is, like, it makes a big statement in just a couple of words, and as women we need to band together, and this is a great book to do it. And then I have heard so much about Pillow Thoughts by Courtney Peppernell, and some of it is like, oh, like lying on the pillow in the morning, but then some of it also is like, I can't let go of my memories, and just, you know, normal things that you think in the morning or at night when your head's on a pillow. Just all the existential stuff, and then, you know, some like, what are we gonna eat for breakfast? I don't know if that's in here, but it should. So there is my very large February-March book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please leave down below if you have any thoughts with these books as well, if you want to fangirl with me, or you just want to tell me how great my lipstick looks, because girl, I know. While we're on the subject, I'm wearing Dragon Queen by Notoriously Morbid on my eyes, and Tainted Love by Notoriously Morbid and Lime Crime Diamond Crusher, just because y'all want to know what my makeup is all the time. And here you are. Today is a really bad chronic pain flare-up day, but my makeup just looks so good, so I feel like it cancels each other out. Maybe I'm gonna put, okay, so after this video I'm gonna put some fuzzy socks on and get some more tea and some more painkillers, and then it'll be all good. And my camera is, ooh, it's doing a little blinky thing, so I'm gonna sign off real quick here. You guys know where to like the video, you know where to click to subscribe. I hope you all are having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!